Hi, I'm just about to film two videos. The first one will be one that I mentioned in my last video, which is a bit of a profile of an author that I really like, who I don't think many people have heard of. Or look, maybe they have, but I haven't seen anything on BookTube, and I don't think it's particularly well known outside of Australia. And I'm also going to film a tag video because I'm about to go away this week and I don't know that I'll get a chance to film at all for a couple of weeks. Either that or I'll have heaps of time and I'll do a glut of films. So I don't know. But anyway, so the first thing that I want to do is talk about this writer called Elliot Perlman. He is an Australian man who I believe is about in his 40s. He's a writer and a barrister. And he wrote his first book, I should have checked this before I started filming, in the late 90s, I believe it was. And it's a book that I have and I don't know where it is. I lent it to somebody and I'm sure that I got it back, but I can't find it, so maybe I didn't, or maybe I gave it to somebody else. But it's called $3. It's set in Melbourne and it was made into a film a couple of years after its release. All of his books are they're really about people and the way that people can get into terrible situations through no fault of their own. Things like homelessness, or people will lose their job, end up homeless, and the way that they have to survive, or the kind of things that they face when things beyond their control happen and they end up in a terrible situation. So $3 is the story of a man who loses his job and he has a wife and a young child to support, and he's kind of afraid to tell his wife what's happened because of the way that, I suppose, not that she'll judge him, but that he's unable to support the family, and it kind of chronicles the things that he does in order to try and keep the family afloat. And it's really almost not when capitalism goes bad, but it's on the human cost of, I guess, the way society is structured and what happens to people, I suppose, when society kind of functions like this and it all looks like it's ticking away, and then people kind of do fall through the cracks, and how they try and continue on. The second book, I believe the second one he wrote is this one. It's called The Reasons I Won't Be Coming, and it's a book of short stories, which are, again, they're about people and they're beautifully written. The thing that I most love about Elliot Perlman is his writing style. He cites Graham Greene as one of his, and I think Raymond Carver as two of his most influential authors. And I just find him extremely touching. He writes, I don't even know how to describe it except beautifully, but you read it and it's not really plot driven, it's very character driven, and the people are drawn so richly. Every character is a complete person that you know, and that you feel for, and they're not kind of devices. I often find that when a book is particularly plot driven, the characters are almost devices that are kind of put in order to let the plot go where it needs to go, which is fine sometimes, but I think the books that really have a most lasting impact on me are books like this, or stories like this, where it's really about the character. And I suppose that's why I love them. And maybe that's also why he hasn't been particularly popular, because I know that a lot of people do love plot, and they love a good story, and I think the stories often come second to characters here. Well, maybe that's an unfair criticism, but I guess what I always get most out of these is the characters. So this is another great one I recommend. I confess that I really haven't read many short stories or short story collections at all, and it's something I would like to read more of, because I think there's probably some great writing that I've just always missed out on for no real reason, just because I haven't read short stories. Things like Alice Munro I think I'd love to read. The next book is another book that I don't have. Well, I do have it. I lent it to my mum and she's currently reading it. It's a book called 7 Types of Ambiguity, and it's a long book. I think it's probably around 800 pages. And again, like $3, it's extremely character driven. It's basically about, look, I actually read it a few years ago, so I don't remember it in great detail. But it's told from the point of view of 7 different people. So there's one event that happens and it's told from different people's points of view. And it's done really, really well. I don't remember exactly, but I just remember being struck by how well-rounded it was. And there's kind of like some psychiatry, a bit of courtroom drama type stuff. But again, it's really the characters I think really make it such a great book and such a great story. But yeah. And the last one, I actually read this last year or maybe earlier. No, it would have been last year. It's called The Street Sweeper. And this one, oh no, it was highly recommended by Random House. I'm not sure if it actually won something. It may have been longlisted for a prize. I should look that up. But it's a book that's set in New York City, and it's about dogs. Stopped. It's about a young man and he gets a job working in a hospital as a cleaner, orderly type man, and he lives with his grandma, and it's kind of the story of him. He's a young African American man from kind of a rough area, and he lives with his grandma only, and he's trying really hard to kind of make it and stay on the tracks and, you know, bring home some money for his grandma and all sorts of things. And he meets a man in the hospital who is a Holocaust survivor. And the book ends up kind of weaving these stories together, and it is just beautiful. It's a really, I think what I said before about the books being character driven at the expense of plot is wrong, actually. Completely ignore that I said that. But this is a really great story in addition to being beautifully written. And again, the characters are just perfect. You absolutely feel for them. I cried during this book. I cried during a lot of books actually, but this one is just, it will kind of, you'll just rip your heart out. I highly recommend it. I think this book may have had a wider audience than some of his other ones, but I don't know, I think he's underrated actually. I don't know many people at all who've read them, and maybe that's just the circles that I kind of swing in, I don't know. But I know that the booktube, booktube community is quite, it's not really that many Australians, there's a few. But I think that people may really enjoy Elliot Perlman. So I think I may actually suggest this one as one that I think people should read if they're looking for a book, because I'm sure nobody has, I don't know, I'm sure you've all got space on your TBRs on it, you know, everyone's obviously looking for more books to read. It's quite long. This copy I have is 552. Actually, I found out when I went to get this book, I have 2 copies, and I don't know how I don't know how or why. I've got this one, which is the bigger one, and I've got the smaller, I don't know what the difference is called, but this one's kind of like the big one with like bigger text, and the smaller one's like a regular size book, like this size. If anyone would like it, maybe just comment below and I'll just send you a copy, because I don't need 2, and maybe that's a way of getting him out into the world. So, okay, here's the thing. If you'd like to read The Street Sweeper, comment below and I'll email you or whatever and get your address, and I'll send it to you, and then you have to read it and do a review. How does that sound? If you would like to do that, participate. I don't really know what else I want to say about him. I had grand ideas for this video, but when I got down to it, I'm not sure what else I need to say. Basically, he's a great author, Elliot Perlman, Perlman with 1 L, Elliot with 2 L's. Apart from the Street Sweeper, I highly recommend the book $3, which is quite short, and once you've seen the book, you can watch the movie, which is good, but the book's just brilliant. And I think that's all.